everybody, and welcome to another live session here on YouTube. And welcome to week 3 of Aloha 24 July. This month's theme is storefronts, and this week's prompt is surf shop. So I prepared a little surf shop for you. But before I start, I have 3 announcements to make. So number 1 is that I'm going to be part of a live stream next week with Tanya and Steffi over on Instagram. Unfortunately, it's going to be in German, but the other announcement I have is there will be another live stream that's kind of like a bigger deal. So on August 1st, I'll be teaching live over at Summer Creative Retreat hosted by Peggy Dean from the Pigeon Letters. It's a free event, 6 days online, all day, and it's about 50 different artists, and I'm one of them. It's going to be, I'm teaching August 1st, I think it's 10 a.m. Hawaii time. So that's 1 p.m. Pacific, but you know what, I'm gonna send out a newsletter, so keep your eyes peeled for that, please. And announcement number 3 is that I'm gonna have a shop update. Finally, again, it's been so long, I don't even remember the last time I had a shop update for my watercolors, for my handmade watercolors. And that's going to be on Sunday, August 4th. Okay, but enough of the announcements. Let's get to painting. I'm going to turn the camera over and then I can also take a look at the comments. Okay, let me turn this around. Here we go. Okay. Almost there. It's always a bit tricky to do this with like one hand. Okay, I got the phone holder ready. Now I just have to snap in the phone. And as always, please let me know how the picture is, the quality, how the audio is. It's all good, you know. Move the paper up and down, all these things. Always let me know, please. All right, let's start with a bit of an overview so I can show you the drafts I made and the supplies we're going to use today. And I'm going to look at the chat. Let's see. Hi, Mom. Hi, Tracy. Hi, Sylvie. Hi, Alina. Oh, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Amy. Happy birthday to you. It's Amy's birthday. She's Heliconia Journals in the chat. Do you have a day off, Amy? Is that why you're here? Usually she's at work. She can never make it to the live stream. Okay, everybody singing now? Okay, the little dog is here too. Hi. Okay, let's get started. I want to show you a few different illustrations that I made first before I decided to go with this one. So this was pretty much the first one, and I kind of thought, you know, I liked it, but I thought it looks kind of like a house where somebody lives in. And I thought maybe the perspective is a bit too tricky to do it in like a 1-hour live stream. So I tried out different other concepts with the store, just, you know, from the front view. But yeah, it somehow, you know this feeling when you're drawing and you kind of like it, but it doesn't click. So I went down with James to one of our surf shops here in town, right by the ocean. And then that's when it clicked, because I love the colors. They really have bright colors they painted their surf shop with. And, you know, they had a bunch of surfboards standing around. It's not exactly like this, so I did change the setting. I took a few reference photos and kind of like pieced this one together. But I finally decided, yeah, let's do this for the live stream. I mean, it's tricky enough with all the different lines and the geometry, etc., but I think we can manage. All right, so I'm gonna put these to the side for now, even though we're gonna start with a little sketch. I'm gonna show you just the basic geometrical shapes. Okay, supplies. Let's start with these. I have a bunch of brushes today. I have a number 4 round brush, a number 6 round brush, and then a size 8 quill brush. You don't have to use a quill brush. You can just use a soft, large brush instead. Then I'm going to use my Pentel pocket brush pen. This pen has real bristles and it has a waterproof ink. So for today's session, please make sure that whatever line drawing tool you use, that it has waterproof ink, because we're going to do the inking first and then the watercolor on top of it. I have a pencil, I have an eraser, ceramic palette to water down the paint and mix it a little bit. I have a whole bunch of paints today. So these are all Aloha watercolors, but of course, as always, just use whatever you have at hand. I'm gonna just quickly go through the colors. The yellow is Papaya, Indian yellow hue. The red is Heliconia, medium crimson red. Then here we have opera pink. The green is Avocado. It's kind of like a pastel-y green. This is Summer Sky. This is an Azure blue. Is it Azure or Azure? 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 Azurblau. I know it in German. Jade Vine is a phtalo turquoise. Jungle is a phtalo green. Koa is Ercolano red. Kohola, synthetic indigo. And I think this is Manta. Yeah, Manta gray ochre. As for paper, I used a Baohong. This is a hot press paper. I tend to use hot press for my tutorials. You know, I also turn this into a step-by-step tutorial and I scan every step. So the rougher the paper is, the harder it is to scan. That's why I'm always going for a very fine grain surface, and that's the reason why I use this. But you can use whatever paper you have at hand. It doesn't have to be cotton either. You can just use cellulose paper. This will totally work fine. I worked at a large size this time. Usually I do the drawings a bit smaller. Just for you, you can do, you know, you can choose what size you do. Maybe it's easier for you to draw a little smaller at first, or, you know, if you feel like you want to go a little bigger, then of course, you know, feel free to do that as well. Let's start with a very basic sketch. So I'm just going to break down the shapes for you a little bit. I'm just going to use a colored pencil that you can see pretty well, something dark. Okay, so we basically have really very basic shapes. There's a triangle for the roof. It is a bit longer on the right-hand side here. And then a rectangle for the main part of the building. So honestly, for you today, I don't think it really matters how tall your shack is, or, you know, how narrow or how wide. You can vary that and put your own spin on it. And then really it's just all very geometrical today. We put the door in the center, then there's a little window, another one here, there was a little
fence. And then there'll be like a bunch of surfboards here on the left side, another one over here, and then some vegetation on the side here, and some clouds. I'm not gonna go into too much detail here because this is just a little sketch to show you the basic shapes that we'll use today. But this is pretty much it. And then a window up here. Okay, this should be a little more centered. This should actually be flush with this door here. All right. Okay, let's move on to the final sketch, and I'm gonna switch to my paper here. I'm gonna try and keep this in the window so you have a little reference here. Okay, I'm just looking over to the chat. Hey, birthday, birthday. Oh, I think my mom's singing too, Amy. Oh yes, and it's Sylvie's birthday tomorrow. You know, it is interesting. I used to not know any people who had their birthday in July, except for my best friend. It was really something where, you know, July was best friends month. And then all of a sudden, all new people pop up and all their birthdays is in July. It was like, wow, summer children. It's wonderful. Okay, so my dears, let's start. So as you can see, I put everything here in the center, which means we're gonna start with a center line. You know, just eyeball it. It doesn't have to be absolutely exactly in the center. I'm using my sleeve to, you know, put too much of my finger oils on the paper here. Okay, and then you can mark a spot. If you're going the same size as I am, about an inch away from the top, like 2 to 3 centimeters, and then maybe 2 inches from the bottom, so like 5 centimeters. And then we can just draw in the roof. And as I said, don't fret too much about the angle of the roof. Just, you know, just eyeball it a little bit. Like this. Okay, all I can say is the roof is not very steep. It's more of a flat roof. And then we'll draw a line across. I'm wondering now, can you see what I do here, or should I go closer? Can you just give me a quick heads up on if I should go closer or if this is all right for you? It's probably okay. Don't see any comments yet. I'll just continue for now. Just let me know if it's too far away, and then I can change the frame. Okay. Oh, hi, Nefa. Hi, Susan. All right. Looks good. Excellent. Let's continue then. Okay, we have the center line, and then around the center line, we're gonna place this top window. So for this line here, follow the roof line on the left, follow the roof line here on the right, parallel, parallel, down and down, and a line across. And fill in some little windows in the same shape. Now on top of the roof line here, we're gonna place another line, also parallel, with a little tip here at the top. And then I'm gonna turn the paper, because it's always easier for me to go from left to right. and draw a line down. As a little tip, when you draw lines, you don't have to try and draw the whole line in one go. It's usually easier to do something like this. The same is true for circles. If you try and draw a circle in one go, it is so hard. It's like Japanese calligraphy master style. If you just do little dotted lines, much easier. And same result basically, right? Because in the end, you're gonna draw everything in and fill it out. So why not make it easier? Okay, another line, vertical line here on the side. And then try and draw the second line approximately the same distance from the other side, or as the other side. So this would be around here. And you know, you could do this all super exact with a ruler and everything, but you know, I kind of like the hand-drawn effect and not be too precise and not too straight with the lines. But it's really a matter of your preference. You can also use a ruler just for part of the line. I'm not sure if that's clear. You know, you can use a straight edge and just kind of do, you know, something like this to give you a little guide for the line. But yeah, make sure you don't do the whole thing with a ruler. I think it's just, yeah, I don't think it maintains that loose fluid style otherwise. Okay, center line, that's where we put the door in. I'd say we'll put it in, you know what, a little bit to the left. So I kind of want the door to be flush with this line of the upper window here. So the left frame of the door and the left side of the door frame. All right. So, are you guys painting along today? Or are you just watching and painting it later? So I participated in Tanya's Patreon live stream yesterday, and quite a few people said that they actually prefer to watch the session first, take it all in, and then come back and watch it later. One more time, and then paint it later. And I think that really makes sense too. You can just lean back and enjoy the live stream and how the person paints everything. And, you know, pay really close attention to that and then draw it in later. Draw it yourself later. Okay, sorry, I'm just continuing here without explaining my steps. So I just drew in the door frame, and then this little bit here is the fence. It was more like a decorative piece of straw mat, honestly. And then for the surfboard here, I took the right-hand line of the house as my center line for the surfboard, and then I just drew kind of like an oval shape on the left side and then tried to replicate it on the right-hand side as well for that surfboard. And then 2 horizontal lines like these. Alina is just watching. Yeah, she's also melting in the heat, I heard. Poor Alina. So here in my house here, we don't have air condition, which is very untypical for Hawaii. I think usually everybody here has air condition. We are lucky to live high up on the mountain, so it's cool. I mean, cool-ish. It's still pretty warm. But I remember when I lived in Europe, in Germany and Switzerland, there was no air condition anywhere. I remember when they introduced air conditions on the trains, it was glorious. I mean, it was like, wow, no more falling apart in the trains. So I imagine, Alina, for you, you live in Romania, correct? You probably don't have air condition either. So if it's like 40 Celsius or, 100 Fahrenheit, God, I can't, yeah, it must be crazy. Yeah, 30 degrees Celsius inside the apartment. Oh my gosh, that's about, I don't know how much that is in Fahrenheit. I'd say, well, that is in the 90s, probably. It's really hot. So, you guys have any recommendations for Alina? How to cool down? I mean, apart from eating ice cream all day, which is, my recipe. I moved over to the left-hand side and I'm drawing in this stack of surfboards. Make sure that the surfboards are not all the same width. So some peek out a little more and some are a little closer together, and also try to vary the height of the surfboards. Some are a bit longer and taller. Ah, Alina just says that she lives in the mountains too. Mountains? I've been in Romania. I didn't see, like, there were like hills. Which mountains? What did I miss? I was there for 3 weeks and I missed the mountains. Wait, is that like in Transylvania? Do they have mountains over there? Why can't I remember? I remember being in really lush forests, like incredible. Maybe that was the mountains or the hills. Alina, I was literally almost everywhere in Romania for 3 weeks, traveled all around the country. I apologize for not remembering all the names right now. I remember we started in Temeshwa, I think. Is that called? Yeah. And then drove all around the country. It was magnificent. I don't think I've ever eaten so much in my life. It was really insane. So much food. It was all so good. I couldn't stop. Okay, and for the little vegetation part in the back, I mean, I don't even know if we should really draw this in because I want this to be super fluid and very loose later on. But again, please do whatever makes you feel most comfortable. So just for funsies, I'm gonna draw in some of the leaf shapes very, very loosely. A few of the stalks maybe. Okay, here we go. This is the sketch, and maybe we can even draw in some more details over here. Yeah, I think that's enough. Everything else I can just do while I do the final line drawing. Okay, Alina says Temeshwa. Yeah, that's in the west. Yes, right. Because we came from, well, from the west. Got in there with the train. And you live in Brasov? Is that how you pronounce it? Brasov or Brasov? 30 minutes away from the Dracula castle. Yeah, I missed that one. See, I wasn't every. I have to go again. I want to go again. So I visited there in, when was it? 2008? I think 7 or 8. Brush off? Brush off? Okay. All right, my dears. So this is the pencil sketch. And now all we're gonna do, and this is the really relaxing part, at least for me, is just to follow our pencil lines with whatever lining tool you choose or you chose to use today. And as I mentioned before, please feel free to use any kind of lining tool that you like. So you can use a micron pen, a fine liner, for example. They come in different sizes. So, you know, if you do a large illustration, you can use a larger size micron, for example, like really a size 8 or so, 0.8. You can also use a small brush and ink, you know, like fountain pen ink that's waterproof. You could also go ahead and use a dark colored pencil if you like. I mean, even though this month is all about ink and watercolor, I have to say, I'm gonna just quickly show you again. I really love doing outlines with colored pencil, like I did here. Gives it more of a soft look. So my main focus for this month and last month really was to work with a clearer outline. If you remember, you know, in the months prior to that, that was not always the case. And I think it really changes the illustration. If you use a very prominent line for your illustration, it gives it a totally different vibe than if you do everything more soft and you know, without the contrast of this, of an outline. Okay, I think I'm gonna turn my paper again pretty soon because it's, as I said, easier for me to draw lines in a certain direction, left to right. I assume if you're left-handed, it would be the other way around, wouldn't it? From right to left. Would make sense. Okay, Sylvie says she uses a pin, fine line brush pen, pin, not sure. Is that a Japanese one? I don't think I'm familiar with that brand or with that particular brush pen. Okay, I turn my paper again. I'm gonna go for the bottom line here. And then let's go over to the surfboards. The way you draw your lines will also really define how your style develops. If you like really crisp lines with no line variation, it's going to look different than if you use a brush pen like I do today. So I mentioned this before, but this monthly challenge and the fact that we're using different materials is also meant to help you find what you really like. So I'm not going to say this will make you find your style, but I think it will help you figure out what kind of lines, for example, you like, what kind of medium combination or media or supply combination. All right, let me see if I forgot something. Well, I think this is okay. Oh, over here, one more line. And then, oh, the door, that's right. Has a little window in there. And then the lettering. Okay, let's do these two things. So a little spiral in here, and then the word surf. Then over here on the other surfboard, 2 horizontal lines, and then surf lessons. You can, of course, write in here whatever you like. Surfs up, or something else, maybe the name of the shop. Okay, just going around and adding a few more lines. Make sure you don't swipe the line that you just painted or drew, that you just drawn, that you've just drawn with your hand. Okay, for the window, I think I'm going to simplify the window and just make a little grid here. And a frame around it. Yeah, okay. I did this in a little bit of a different way in my first illustration here, but I think this is much easier. I did draw in a few lines here at the top, but you know what? Let's not do this for this one. I want to try and see what it looks like without these vertical lines here. Okay, now we got to make sure that the lines are really dry before I go over them with the eraser to erase the pencil lines. So I think I'm just gonna be on the safe side and go and use the hair dryer for a bit. It's gonna be just a few seconds. I'll be right back. And here we go. Okay, I'm looking over at the chat. So Sylvie says the pen is from Mitsubishi. Oh yeah, yeah, it is Japanese. Oh, you know what? I think I do own a pen. Now that I think of it, you say Mitsubishi. Yeah, they're very similar to the Microns though, right? Like but it's a black pencil, black casing, but quality-wise it's very similar. And Lisa says, I'm left-handed and left to right is easiest. Ooh, really? You go from left to right? Oh, that's fascinating. So that would be if I would draw from right to left. Wow, I find that really hard. So I guess it's just a matter of getting used to how you draw and which direction you draw. Not so much if you're left-handed or right-handed. I see. Very interesting. This is the moment of truth, and my ink is dry. Very good. I mean, there's not much that makes me cringe when I paint. I'm really usually very, just go with the flow. But there's one thing I really can't stand is when I want my ink to be dry and it's not, and I erase over it and then I smear the ink. It's like, cringe. Now you know. I spilled the secret. All right, let's put the eraser to the side. Alina says she always wanted to learn how to use the left hand to write. So that's, you're right-handed? You want to use the left hand too? I think Sylvie did it because she had her dominant hand in a how'd you say, cast last week. So she started painting with her left hand and looked fabulous. I'm like, wow. It's like, how can you do this? It was really good. I'm grabbing my size 6 round brush and let me rearrange things here a little bit. Okay, gonna put my ceramic palette over here and let me put my paints over on this side as well. Okay, so getting some water, picking up some of my Indian yellow hue and dropping it into my ceramic palette, and I'm gonna water it down because I really want to start with a light wash of this beautiful orangey yellow. How is your arm, by the way, Sylvie? Are you still in the cast? Or is it better? I hope it's better. Okay, so we're gonna start with painting the main part of the house. Very loosely. So as you can see, I'm really just slapping the paint on here. And again, please feel free to go ahead and do this your way. So you can take a lot more time doing this, really filling out all the spaces more evenly, following the lines. But for me, I'm just throwing the paint on. And then let's do this surfboard here in the same color. And I think this is it for the yellow part of the house. Later, when this is dry, I'm gonna add a few fine lines, vertical lines. Okay, but what we can already do is grab a little bit more of the yellow paint with less water so that the color is more intense, and then drop in some yellow along the lines here. So this is the first indication of shadow. In my step-by-step tutorials, I never do it this way because it would just be too many steps to explain this. But of course, in the live streams, this is something I can do. Because the beautiful thing is, when you do it this way, the paint is still dry. Your first layer is, excuse me, the first layer is still wet. And this way, when you drop in a more intense yellow, it's going to blend really nicely with the layer you already painted. And then later, when everything is dry, I'm gonna go over everything one more time with a different color, like a gray color, to emphasize the shadows some more. But it's always good to have a first subtle shadow layer already going on. So basically everything that you have that has a bottom horizontal line, you can add a bit of a darker yellow to it, especially here under the roof line. Okay, I'm rinsing my brush. And now you can analyze a little bit where you can paint next without touching the yellow that's still wet. So you always want to paint this illustration in a way where you can fill out spaces that don't touch the one that you already painted, so that the paints don't bleed into each other. So in this case, I can go ahead and paint some of the surfboards, for example. So let's grab some of my medium crimson red here. Let's see how intense this is. This is fine. So sometimes I only use my palette to kind of judge how intense the paint is, you know, if I have to water it down or if I have to pick up maybe a little bit more pigment. A little bit more water for this one here. So even though we're using the same red, it's going to look a bit different because I used more water for this one here on the left-hand side. And this is exactly the wash I like to paint the inside of the door with as well. And because we have this little frame going on here, it's not going to touch the yellow, so it's fine to paint this part. Okay. So, hi Nancy. Yeah, if you missed the newsletter for the sketch of the tutorial, you can also check out my Instagram at Aloha Watercolors 808. And there is a step-by-step tutorial, and the first 2 steps actually show a sketch. So you can just scroll into the photo and maybe take a screenshot, and you have the sketch right there. Let me just quickly write down my Instagram handle, also because it's a new one. Okay, so this is the Instagram handle, and just it's gonna be, I think, the second last post. And I think even the current post has the step-by-step tutorial in it with the sketch. All right. Okay, let's see what else we can paint. We could do the trees, for example, or the sky, or both. I think that would both work. So I'm taking my size 8 mop brush, quill brush, but feel free to use any kind of large round brush, preferably a soft one for this step. Just quickly going to rearrange things again a little bit. The palette over here. Okay, I'm picking up quite a bit of water, and that's the beauty of these quill brushes. They hold a lot of water. And picking up some of this paint here, the Avocado pastel green. If you don't have this color, you can use a yellow and a green earth pigment, yellow and green. And if it's not light enough, you can just mix in some opaque white. Even white gouache would work. There's no white in this particular paint, but I'm just saying that if you have trouble achieving this color. Okay, a little bit more water. I'm soaking my brush with the water and the pigment, and then just with quick strokes, adding a bit more water directly from my brush. Now you can see I'm totally not painting inside the lines. I'm really just using the lines as an approximation where I'm adding my greenery. And I'll do a little bit more definition with the second green, the darker green, which is the phtalo green I have here. I rinsed my brush, picking up some of my phtalo green, and because this phtalo green is super staining, this is a very strong color. Make sure you test it first a little bit on your palette. I think this is a good consistency. It's quite watery, but you can see the color is still very intense. And now you can go in and add this green on the underside of your tree and also here with your leaves. When I say underside, I mean the top part should be light green, and add some of the darker green to the bottom parts of the leaves and also of your tree. And you can rinse your brush and go back to your avocado color if you feel that maybe there's a bit too much contrast between the light and the dark green. And with some quick strokes, just blend in some of the avocado color and the phtalo green. So basically you're creating a third type of green here by mixing these two and making the blends a bit smoother. I know this is a lot of explaining I'm trying to do for a process that's pretty much just throwing paint on the paper. It is it's a bit hard to explain, honestly. So if you're not sure, or if you really think, oh god, this is so terrible, this is also something you can really practice on its own by itself. Just take scrap pieces of paper and do some nice washes and blends and try to practice quick round, half round brush strokes, which you will always need if you want to paint in some background greenery. It's always, I mean, for me at least, for my painting style, I'm always going for these quick half round strokes, doing a lighter color and then a darker color to define the shapes a little more. But we don't really want the trees to take away from the main part of the illustration, which is the house. Okay, so I hope it makes sense. Please ask any questions if you have them. I'm very happy to explain and try to explain more of this. All right, I think I need a cup of tea because my cup's almost empty. Okay, I'll hold off a little bit more till I go get some more tea. And you know what? Let's paint in the sky as well, because we're already in the flow. We got the nice easy hands going on and the flow of the paint. So this pan's almost empty. Let's see what I can scrape out from this one. It's actually not very good for the brush, as soon as the paints are that, and the pans the paint pans are this empty, the bristles, especially like soft bristles like this one, don't really like that. So I just grabbed a very inexpensive round brush with kind of like stiff bristles. Now I'm just gonna grab the remaining paint here. Preferably not do this on top of your illustration because, prone to splatter. Everything I tell you is, of course, it happened to me in the past, so I'm mentioning it so it doesn't happen to you. Switching over to my quill brush again, picking up a little bit of water. Make it even more watery. So this particular Azure blue is a bit opaque, which means not transparent, and I do want it to be a bit more transparent. That is why I add lots of water. And then we're just gonna go ahead and doodle in some blue sky and clouds. And again, kind of like with the trees over here, this is the point where you can't overthink your brush strokes. Really just go ahead and dabble. Use the movement of your hand, your wrist, like this. just really do something totally abstract like that. That's it. That's all we need. I'm going to rinse my quill brush and put it to the side for now. Even though I could also paint in the shadow already, actually. Here at the bottom. Hi, Jamesy.
Hi. Bye.
Hi,
World.
bye.
Bye, world.
Bye. All right, well, why don't we do that? Now that we're already in the groove. Sylvie says hi and bye. Hi, bye. Okay, I have some of my gray ochre here. And for the original illustration, I actually used a lot of the new colors that will come out on August 4th in the shop update. But of course, because you cannot possibly have these colors yet, I'm doing the illustration today with colors that are already available and colors that you might already have. So I'm mixing my gray ochre, manta ray color, and then I'm gonna just grab a tiny little bit of indigo because I want the shade to have a slightly blue hue. And with this really wet brush full of pigment and paint, just gonna do something like this down here. Maybe a little more indigo. I want it slightly darker, slightly bluer. It's not blue enough. I really want it a bit darker. Okay, let's try this one more time and just add a little more of this dark blue indigo and gray mix. Just drop it in like this. Okay. Yeah, this is all right. How is it going, you guys? If you're painting along? Is this a good pace? Can you keep up? Let me know. Oh, hey Mom. Takako. I ask you, everybody here, do you know today is International Emoji Day? International Emoji Day. Oh, yes. I had no idea. It's funny because honestly, you can look up any day, every day on the calendar and it's National Kitten Day, International Ocean Day, or something funny like National Pancakes Day, or Handwriting Day, Watercolor Day. It's always something fun. Mickey Mouse Day. I think there's actually a Mickey Mouse Day in June. So I think apart from International Emoji Day, it's probably also something else fun. Pretzel Day. Naked Gardening Day? Do we have emoji for that? Who's gardening naked? I mean, if I did this here, I would look like a Streuselkuchen after 2 minutes. Mosquitoes, you know? I mean, we have so many mosquitoes here. When I garden, I have to layer up. I look like a beekeeper when I garden. No way could I do that naked. Not that I wanted to, but you know, even if I wanted to, I couldn't. Lisa says no. Okay, Lisa, is this pertaining to how fast I'm painting or to the naked gardening? I wonder. Okay, so I'm gonna go away for half a minute and grab some more tea. I apologize, but I really need some tea. I'll be right back. If your paper is really wet, now would be the time to use a hair dryer to dry all your layers until I return. Leo, can I? No, we're not gonna go play now. I'm sorry. We can go play later, okay? Yeah? Play later? Good. Good boy. Don't mind me, I'm just talking to my dog over here. Okay, I have some tea. Very, very nice. Green tea. Love this stuff. Just plain green tea. It's fabulous. No sugar, nothing, just tea. And I will go ahead and dry this layer real quick with my hair dryer. Okay, so it's not everything is completely dry. I want to make one quick note here. Whenever you work with a lot of water and it's pooling, make sure that you use the hair dryer really carefully, because you don't want the paint or the water to splatter onto onto different parts of your illustrations. So it's better to wait a little, until there's only a sheen of water on your paper before you use a hair dryer. Another thing I want to mention is that there is a tendency when you dry with a hair dryer that you get these drying lines more than if you let it dry naturally. So if you really can't stand that, then just don't use the hair dryer, or make sure that you go in one more time and just mosquito, ha, I got it. Bye. Sorry. Okay, where was I? So you can reactivate the paint along these drying lines, but then make sure you paint across the whole thing one more time using a little bit of water so you don't get another drying line. So I normally really don't care about these drying lines. I actually kind of like them. Gives me that, hey, it's handmade and it's watercolor feel. Just wanted to drop this as a little tip in case you do not like these drying lines and want to get rid of them. Okay, let's paint in with a size 4 round brush the other details of the house with our phtalo turquoise. Let me find a free space here in my palette. So I hear that the neighbors just started again with their construction work. Some big machinery going on today, like huge like caterpillar trucks destroying large rocks type of machinery. So I hope it's not too loud. I don't know how much you can hear of this in the background. I can hear it, but hopefully the microphone maybe filters it out a little bit. All right. So the roof, and then the gutter over here, and that, I'm not sure about this word in English, this part of the house. Let's just put it this way. It's not a column, isn't it? It's a vertical post, I guess. House post. The door frame, the window frames, the little window up here as well. Alina remembers the leaf blower. Oh yeah, those are loud, especially when they use the ones that are really powerful. It's so loud. And sometimes when one neighbor starts, the other neighbor gets the idea, oh, is it leaf blowing time? Let me get mine out as well. And then we have 2 or 3 neighbors leaf blowing at the same time. This is usually when I want to start recording my YouTube videos. It's like, I'm about to press the record button and then, well, this is at least how it feels. Okay, Sylvie says this is a drain pipe. Yeah, absolutely, this is a drain pipe. That's a good word, I like that, drain pipe. And Alina says she remembers everything. Ooh, that's scary. I gotta watch my words. I just followed the conversation and the chat a little further up where Lisa says, would be bad to get poison ivy while gardening. Yeah, still pertaining to the naked gardening. Yes. Oh, well, I'll definitely remember this conversation. You guys are great. This is so fun. I'm really enjoying this. Live streams with you guys. That's great. Okay, so we still have a few things to fill out. The surfboards and then, you know, the windows here, the surfboard over there. So let's grab some really bright opera pink. Opera pink is usually a mix of a neon pink with a quinacridone magenta or quinacridone rose or pink. And it's one of my absolute favorite colors. The only tricky thing about this particular opera pink is that it's very staining, so which means as soon as you paint the paper, this color goes into the paper fiber, like attaches to it, and then it's super difficult to lift it. Lifting it means you go back in with a brush and you try to rub the paint. For example, if you want to blend it with another color. So this is almost like a dye. It goes and dyes the paper fiber, and it's very difficult to blend it, which means you gotta work really fast with this color if you want to blend it with another color. So if I were to go in, for example, with this yellow, I'd have to do it really while the first layer with the opera pink is still wet. Otherwise, no chance to blend it. So the more you work with watercolors, the more you will realize that some colors have this tendency. So they go into the paper fiber and it's hard to lift them again. Like the phthalo colors are like this as well. And a lot of colors are like that. And then there are the colors where you can paint and then let them dry, come in again with some water, and you can literally pull the paint off the paper again. It's very interesting how watercolors differ in that regard, and that's usually due to how the pigment was made and what kind of a pigment it is. This is why I always recommend doing some swatch studies of all the colors that you have, just so you get to know your paints better. I'm running out of space on my palette, which does really not matter because I'm just gonna add my brown red, my Ercolano red here to my yellow, making it even sunnier. Okay, I'm gonna paint my surfboard here on this side with this nice brown. And because I always try and repeat a color in another part of the painting to create some more balance, I will go in and maybe let's add a bit of brown here to the surfboard. Otherwise, if you don't do that, it's the only place where this color shows up. It's gonna stand out a lot. Now you can use this as a technique if you want this part to stand out for whatever reason. But if you don't, if you're going for balance, then make sure you repeat all the colors in another part of the painting somehow. Which means I should probably also paint a little bit of greenery here on this side, but you know, it's okay. I think the phtalo green of the tree is close enough to the phtalo turquoise of the house so that it gives kind of like a round feel. Yes, we started, I think Sylvie started the naked gardening theme today, huh? Actually, my mom started it with telling us it's International Emoji Day, and then people started looking up what other days it is today. Is this going to happen every time I do a live stream now on? We're gonna look up what day it is. Ah, so funny. Okay, so what we're gonna do next is paint this white spot. We're gonna add some more shadows overall. I'm gonna add some window colors, and then we're done. So let's do the next step. And because my surfboard here is still a little wet, I'm gonna leave that little straw mat fence alone for now, and I will start adding some shadows. Now for the shadows, we want to have a nice watered down mix of our grayish blue color, basically the same color we use down here. If you still have some on your palette, this would be perfect to use. So everywhere where you already painted a darker layer of yellow, remember we did that in the first step, you can go over it one more time and add some of this gray paint. So basically wherever you have a line like this, add some shadow at the bottom of the line. Here, window, panel, kaleo. Leo. It's okay, calm down. Leo. Hey. I had to do the stir and look him in the eye thing. You guys have dogs? So we actually don't have dogs. These are my neighbor's dogs, but they don't know that. They live here too. I love them very dearly. And one of the dogs has puppies now. Four little beings that make me not be able to work anymore. I swear, they're too cute. There is really such a thing as too cute. Should not be allowed. So whenever my neighbor's at work, I watch the dogs and the puppies. And now they're 2.5 weeks old and they start to walk around and play, and you know, they have their eyes open, and it's impossible. I'm not really getting much done, honestly. All right, we have a few shadows, so we can do some more here and here actually. As I said, wherever you have a vertical line, sorry, excuse me, the opposite, the horizontal line, very important. Ignore the vertical lines, just the horizontal lines. You want to place a shadow underneath. And even little things like the doorknob, you could add a shadow. I know this is not a horizontal line, so I should rather say everything that has some kind of a line underneath, you should emphasize with a shadow. All right. I'm running out of my gray paint, so I'm just gonna mix some more gray ochre plus a dash of indigo. Okay, imagine the lights coming from the top. This is why we painted the shadows this way. Then for the surfboards, you know, the light would hit them like this, which means not much shadow, but a little bit here, in between at the bottom. For me, shadows were always one of the most difficult things to add to my drawings and paintings. And what really helps is when you have a good photo that shows contrast and shadows very well, that you don't use it in color, you actually turn it into a black and white photo, up the contrast a lot. This will make you see the shadows even better. So if you want to practice painting shadows, you can really go ahead, find photos that you like that show very good shadow and light contrast. Turn them into black and white, up the contrast, and then practice with this reference photo. Or, you know, you can just go out and take your own photos during times of the day where there are lots of shadows visible. And then paint these to practice the shadows. All right, I'm gonna add some more gray here in between the plant and the house. So this will create a little bit of depth. Bit of a shadow area here in between the plant leaves. Oh, I forgot one shadow here, down by the door. Okay. Sorry, I'm kind of jumping in between the parts. It's a lot, you know, has a lot to do with me talking while I paint, so I get a bit distracted by my own talking. And then I see something and remember, oh, I have to still paint that one. I grabbed some of my indigo, lots of water, more indigo. I still have my size 6 round brush, but for the next step you can actually switch to the smaller round brush if you like. And just gonna paint in the window space up here and then also down here. I'm not sure what to do with this door. I'm not sure I want this dark this time. In the original painting, I had the door dark like this. I don't think I want this for this one. I think I'm gonna go with something lighter for the door. You can see me here drop in some more. Leo. You can see me drop in some more indigo here in the shadow area between the plants. This creates a little more contrast between the plant and the background. So we can create different aspects of depth in our illustration. The more shadows, the more dark and light colors you add, the more interest you'll create, in my opinion. everything is very flat and there's no depth, you know, it's kind of like you look at the painting and your eye almost slides off. If you create areas of darkness and lightness, it's gonna be way more interesting to look at, I think. Okay, I'm mixing some of my indigo and gray mix with what's left of my phtalo turquoise here on the palette. I just want to go over a few of the shadows one more time because I don't think they're strong enough, like down here, for example. And then here along the drain pipe. Oops, my hand just slipped. Okay, and then on this side here, this is part of the roof. So they just made the roof a little longer on this side. This is actually how it really looks. Like in reality, this is how the house looks. So the shape of the house is pretty much the same as it looks in reality. I just changed the surroundings a little bit. And with my indigo and phtalo turquoise dark mix, I'm just adding a few lines here to indicate the inside of this roof. All right. Okay, there are two more things I would like to do. One is to draw in the vertical lines to indicate the wooden boards that the house is made of, and then this little straw mat fence. And for that, I can just use what's left here on my palette. This is a mix of the Ercolano red, brown, and the yellow. So just adding this here. A very light wash because I do want the surfboard to stand out more. So this color definitely should be brighter than the fence in the background here. And I'm gonna paint over this with the same mixture. I do the same over here on the surf sign and the spiral. And I'm also gonna fill in the door with this color. And then for the spiral here, let's add a little bit of a pop of a color to make the spiral stand out a little more. Okay, I have to go do a very last round with the hairdryer. I want to make sure that everything here in the building is dry before I start adding my vertical watercolor lines. So I'll be right back. Should be okay. Should be good. You can always check if your paper is still moist by turning it in the light, and you know, usually when you don't see a sheen, it should be fine. I don't recommend touching the paper with your fingers because of the finger oils, you know, the natural oils we have on our hands. If you must try, then use the back side of your hands. It's a bit, you know, we have a few less oils on the back side usually. And I'm not, you know, this is natural. Every human has that. I'm not saying that you have like super oily fingers. Like we all have that. It's totally normal. And also, you know, usually it's not a big deal, but I have had this experience where I had touched the paper a lot, you know, like, and then literally when I wanted to paint over it with watercolor, it would just repel the watercolor. So I basically had to go in with some crayons and just paint over these oily oily patches in my drawing. So yeah. Okay, I'm gonna turn the paper to the side, to the direction I feel most comfortable with drawing lines. I'm grabbing some of my Indian yellow hue, papaya color, and some water. I have switched to my size 4 round brush because this has an excellent, really excellent, very sharp point. So it doesn't really matter what kind of size brush you use. You could use a number 1, 2, 3, 4. Make sure you use a brush that has a really nice, pointed, sharp tip. And what I'm doing here is I'm including the shadow, so I paint over the shadow with my yellow color, and approximately the same distance from each other I'm drawing these lines in. Doesn't have to be too exact, just, you know, approximately the same distance. And as you can see, I don't draw the lines through. I leave little spaces in between. And I think that really adds, that creates a little bit of interest. You see that? Like, okay. And the reason why I didn't draw in these lines with my brush pen in the beginning was pretty much to see how I like this version, if I like it better, or maybe it's too subtle. So I'm going to turn the paper around in a second and then we'll figure it out. We'll see if this looks better or maybe if it's too subtle. You don't have to pay too much attention to continue the line from this top part down there. So in the real building, these lines actually, I don't think they went all the way through. Maybe they did. Yeah, I personally just don't think it's too important. However, if you want your house to look really neat, then this would be one way to do it. You can continue the line from top to bottom. In my case, that is not so important for me, so I just draw the lines however I feel, however they come. All right, let's turn this over. Let's turn this around. I'm kind of liking this look. It's more subtle. The reason why this looks different too is because I went over the whole thing with colored pencil in the end. So I added some texture with colored pencil all over here. So strictly speaking, this is not part of the challenge because we're only doing watercolor and ink. But of course, you know, I'm usually a mixed media artist, so I love, I love throwing all the different supplies on my paper. Okay, so if this is too subtle for you at this point, you can let this dry and go back in with your lining tool. If you're using a micron or a fine liner, for example, you can also switch to a really small size at this point and draw in some lines, just to emphasize, you know, this vertical aspect of the house. Okay, let me just make sure that I painted in all the little details. At this point, you can have a look around at your painting and see, did I miss something? Maybe a few shadows, or here in this case, the fence is not finished at all. So I'm picking up just some of the colors that I still have on my palette. In this case, it's the mix of brown and yellow, just very loosely painting in a bit of a texture here. That's maybe a bit too subtle, so let's add a little more brown. Just go up and down here. And then a bit of a shadow at the bottom. see, I do want to go over this a little bit with colored pencil. So when your paint is still a little moist, I recommend that you use a water-soluble colored pencil. If you don't have that and you just have regular colored pencil, no problem. Just make sure everything is super dry before you add the colored pencil, because otherwise you're gonna probably end up ripping your paper. Depends a little bit what your paper is, but in general, if you're not sure how dry the paper is, I would always recommend going in with a very soft colored pencil, and the water-soluble colored pencils are usually super soft and very good for that job. So I'm choosing a color that is very similar to my Indian yellow hue, Papaya. Just go over parts of my house. Mostly the upper part. I leave the lower part here alone. So this also emphasizes the shadow work I did prior to this a little more. And if you like this look, it's very textured look. Here you can see. And especially if you use a cold pressed paper that has like a rough texture, you will see how much the texture of the paper will show up as soon as you add colored pencil to the whole deal here, to the whole mix. Okay. Ooh, now I'm in the colored pencil mood. So this is my favorite combo. I absolutely love combining colored pencil and oh, look at this one. That was one of my cats. Yeah. Yeah, as I was saying, I love the combination of watercolor and colored pencil. It's actually my favorite. I mean, I do love trying out other stuff too, don't get me wrong, but colored pencil and watercolor is my all-time favorite go-to. And I have to admit, I was thinking about doing the next 2 months with this combo again. You know, I was going to do a different color, not color combo, medium combo for every 2 months. I kind of miss doing watercolor and color pencils. So if you have ideas what combination of mediums you would like to see in this challenge, of course, all the time, please always feel free to text me and come up with ideas. You can also leave them here in the comment. So these would be ideas for August and September. We're gonna have landscapes as a theme. And I was thinking watercolor and gouache would be one option, but then also watercolor and crayons or pastels and watercolor and color pencils. Or, we could also do 3 watercolor, color pencil, and gouache, for example. So I would love, love, love to know your opinion about this, your ideas. And I think we are done for today. I have to say, I really love both versions. I think I was a bit more refined with the line work in my original drawing. This one is a bit more, live stream kind, like just go ahead and draw real quick. The lines are a bit broader. I do love, love, love the texture here. I think the texture of the colored pencil comes out more than in my original one. So yeah, not different, but different in a good way. Okay, my dears. So let me just quickly repeat the 3 announcements from the beginning, just in case you came to this live stream a little bit later. So number 1 is my live stream with Steffi and Tanja in German.
sorry, next week on Tuesday over on Instagram. Then number 2 is a live stream within the Summer Creative Retreat hosted by Peggy, the Pigeon Letters. It's a free event. All you have to do is to register with your email address. So you can hop over to the Pigeon Letters, either on her Instagram or on the website, and register. It's going to be August 1st till August 6th with 50 artists and lots of cool free drawing and painting lessons. And then number 3 is my shop update on Sunday, August 4th with the new bird themed set. I am actually thinking about doing a live stream to introduce the paints, but right now I'm juggling so many dates that I'm not sure if I can squeeze it in. But if I do it, it's going to be either on August 2nd or August 3rd, I think. But yeah, might be a bit too too tight with the time. Let's see. I'll keep you all updated. You can subscribe to my newsletter. I will leave a link in the description down below in case you haven't subscribed yet. And until then, until next time, I wish you a very good week. Happy painting. Thanks for joining today. Aloha. Bye.